Tom, I want to read through some of the responses, but as is usually the case, the thing that interests me initially is the culmination of the responses. So in asking this question about what area of coaching, consulting, counseling today that people would get for themselves, here's the results. You ready? Business, 40%. They'd get help with business work, career, though the majority of the people who actually responded, the details it was in regards to business, their own business, starting a business, whatnot. So 40%, personal development, 33%, health and wellness, 25%. So as always, it's a biased demographic. These are people who are out to aspiring people out there to progress. So you would think that they all hopefully have some intentionality in each of these areas. So it was interesting to say either one where people actually need the help. Well, I don't know. What do you think? Is it, do you kind of counter or not counter, but overlay that these are results of where people need the most help or where we place a bigger priority? What do you think?
I think it's both. I think if somebody feels like they're really lacking in something, they're going to pick that. If they feel like they're kind of equal in all areas, they're going to go with their priority. And, we've been doing goal setting and training in that area for, 5 decades. And there's two goals that people always set. One's a health goal and one's a career goal. It's about getting in better shape or making more money. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So
yeah,
it's probably whatever's ticking there, they feel like they're behind in right now, that they're going to pick between those two.
Well, here, I was going to say something, but let me read some of the responses before I do. I'm going to jump to the personal development one and read some of those. Jason Stein, he says, personal development, it would be self-accountability. That's my current area of focus. Yana says personal development, specifically becoming more mindful of how I spend my downtime when I am not working or working out, intentionally, actively resting rather than picking up my phone. Marvin, actually, no, I'm going to come back to him. Susie says goal setting and lifestyle wellness. So personal development. Jennifer says specifically personal development, specifically how to align life goals with my time. I feel like I'm always in survival mode with the hours in the day and don't make good use of my time. Philip Hatfield, one of our Ziglar heroes, he said personal development. Kathy Bosley, personal development. I want to make my mind as strong as possible and as healthy as possible. Now here, I saved 3 for the end here. Jeff Bayless, he says, I'm called to consider Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If we start with building the foundation for a meaningful life, the entropic spiral of doom can be diverted. In other words, I'd start with my own. He actually says, health and wellness, but personal development. And move the needle from there. Doing the internal work helps us bring out the best version of ourselves to every facet of life. And that's where I'm going with this. Chris McNaw also said personal development, by improving myself, I can improve everything else. And Marvin Pennick said personal development seems like effective coaching there would filter down. Personal development is foundational to work, relationships, financial, spiritual, et cetera, et cetera. So there's my premise I'm going to start off with, because years ago, back when it's when we met, Tom, and we started, actually it's because I was, the self-employment guy, helping people pursue self-employment. And I was looking for an idea. Let's get to know you. What are some ideas you have, some interests you have that fit you? Where's a good marketplace opportunity? Now, I'm not going to make that sound simple or easy or minimize that at all, but we can do that. We can find an area that you have some ability in, capability, interest. We can find a marketplace opportunity, and we can create a business, create a brand, create a product, service, message, and get it out there. We can do that. And as we were working on that, putting those pieces together, we would so often find people lose momentum. get stuck. And where would it be? It was personal. It was dealing with their personal time management or their fear or, just it's things from a personal nature, which is, it's interesting that it's to come back to this. I am prone to look at overall at personal development as a priority, or at least sequentially. I don't know, Tom, what do you think? Because I can also go there with health and wellness. Man, if your body and mind are compromised, man, everything else is. So it's hard to pick that. And somebody else would say, yeah, but if you don't have money coming in, I don't know. What do you think?
It's like I keep going back to the both and answer. Let's just look at it in our own coaching system with Choose to Win. We get clarity on the why.
Yeah.
And then we move from mental to spiritual to physical to family to financial, personal, and career. So career actually comes last. But let's say somebody comes to us and they've got a real business challenge. Well, we're going to work with them on that business challenge. But the first thing that we're going to tap into is what's their mindset? What's their mental picture of their business? Because if the root is, I'm an imposter, I probably shouldn't be doing this anyway.
Yeah.
This is the fifth time and I failed the other four times, I'm going to fail this time. Then it's going to be very difficult to say, execute this plan, because they're going to sabotage it along the way.
Yeah.
And then I was working with or I have friends with another consultant, and I said, what are you? He says, well, I'm a coach, but I call myself a results consultant. And he charges a lot of money. And I said, what do you do? And he goes, the same thing you do. And then he said this, it really just all boils down to relationships. And if the relationships at home were going sideways, that's a problem. If your relationship with yourself, the way you see yourself, the way you think, and the way you believe about who you are and what's possible is out of balance, then so I love the answers of, hey, if you focus on the personal, which for me is primarily the mental aspect of it, then you're going to be in a much better position. Because how many times have we seen somebody who had all the capacity, capability, intelligence, wisdom, resources, and they just don't do it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So let's end on business and I'll go to health and wellness. So it was chosen last. Sarah Brown, she said health and wellness. I'm completely off track. Wendy Melrose, fitness. Scott Vaughn, health and wellness. RB Williams, for me, it would be health and wellness. I would want to be my best self, which in turn would lead to more personal development and a career I want to do. Now, one I have to do because I need medical insurance. Greg, health and wellness. Brian, fitness. Luke Johns, he says, even though I have a health and wellness degree, I would still choose counseling in the area of health and wellness. I know that without keeping my health and well-being in check, my efforts in career and personal development suffer. I'd love counseling in all three areas, but I feel that accountability and personalized encouragement in health, specifically functional medicine guidance for my chronic issues, would be the most rewarding overall. I have found that pursuing career and personal goals is only worthwhile if I'm able to experience it in my best health. It's a big one for me, Tom. I mean, I am very health and wellness focused. I'm very intolerant of feeling poorly. I place so much value on the energy that I get from being fit and well, that then allows me to go do everything else. And I do sometimes struggle with people who are in poor shape physically, which includes by proxy mental. I mean, it's always one of the myths I like to talk about, that we have this thought that we can be sack of potatoes on a chair and still get the best out of our brains. And we know that our brains, our hearts, our guts, I mean, everything is so intrinsically connected. And for the person out there who is in bad shape physically, and is still getting some decent work out of themselves, man, that's awesome. We're great at survival. I would venture to say that one, you could get more out of yourself if you were healthy and well, or you'll get more out of yourself longer. And there is going to be a consequence to that. So health and wellness, I tend to, yeah, again, talking about sequentially, I'll tend to put first as a priority, but not, not most important as well. So it's, you're back to that, chicken or the egg question, I guess.
Yeah. And I think I'm probably just going to echo what you said, but also, and this is, so being in the, I tell people, Kevin, I've been in this business for 56 years. I was born into it.
Yeah, you were.
I can remember Dad speaking about health and wellness from the very beginning and his commitment to it. And then he set the example for as long as he was able. He worked out 3, 4, usually 5 times a week, very, very consistent in it. And this is what I'll say. There are very practical short-term reasons, and then there's very practical long-term reasons. And this is what I've noticed, and that is that if you're in a health crisis, if you are so worn out or in such bad shape that it kills your energy, there's nothing better than you can do in the short term to turn that around.
Yeah.
Right. If that's your only one priority is eating right, exercising, getting the right amount of sleep. And there's 2 other things on this that we've added and talked about. One is loneliness. More people die of loneliness every year than everything else. It's because of the cascade. And then the other is stress, so if you're in constant, anxiety and worry and stress about things, that's going to impact your health. So we can't look at a health coach and say, hey, yeah, I just need to lose 10 pounds and, run a 9-minute mile of a sub-9. We got to look at the overall impact. The problem with only doing that is if you don't change your mindset and your internal belief about who you are and how that is part of you now for the rest of your life, it's usually at best a 4 to 8 week sprint. And what we need is a long-term lifestyle. We need health forever, right? It's like Dr. James says, none of us can be well, but we can all be weller. We can be in better shape tomorrow than we are today by the choices we make today. And so I'm all in it. So when I'm working with somebody and they say right out of the gate, I really want to focus on the physical, I'm 100% behind it. But I also come right back in and say, we've got to change your view of the physical, your mindset, your perspective, your perception of it, because it's just got to become you.
Yeah. You talking about short-term and long-term goals there, perspective. That's one that we've been talking. Well, you mentioned Dr. James. So yeah, folks, if you haven't tuned in to the True Life podcast with myself and Dr. Randy James, a functional medicine expert, as Luke Johns mentioned, functional medicine, my doc and Tom's doc, please do. But we've been talking a lot about there's so many headlines about lifespan, right? And about, hey, lifespans increased or lifespans decreased, that it's a soapbox of mine. We're talking about the time when your heart ceases to beat. That's what they're talking about, lifespan. And man, whether that fluctuates 5 years up or down, I personally could care less. What I care about is my health span. However long my lifespan is going to be, I want my health span to last that entire time. And we have more and more and more people. Our health span is decreasing rapidly in America. And we have people who may live to whatever lifespan, to whatever age, but man, their health span ended long before that. And as Randy talks about, and it's the most daunting term to me, we linger. I don't want to linger in immobility and dementia and cognitive decline and whatnot. And one other thing I wanted to pull out there, you mentioned your dad, Ziglar, being the example, is that, and this is a touchy subject, but it just is legitimate. His story that I think I've played on the show, played on a clip, I'm not sure, but I want to say that I did, is he did get to a time where he did get out of shape. and he gained a bunch of weight. And I really appreciate that his catalyst was looking in the mirror and saying, man, this is not, or what was the story? Did he do that or did somebody question him on it?
So he was, of course, dad loves to eat and he had a sweet tooth. And when you travel a lot, you don't get the choices.
Yeah.
And, he played in high school and college. He was very athletic, played a lot of sports and uh, played tennis, in his younger life and loved golf. But when he started writing the book, See You at the Top, so this is early 70s, he wrote something in the book that said, you can be what you want to be, you can do what you want to do, you can go where you want to go. And he just had this image of somebody coming up to him and taking their finger and sticking it in his 42-inch waistline, like poking him in the belly and saying, Zig, do you really believe that? Is this how you want to be? And then he realized, wait a second, if this is the message I'm going to carry, if this is what I'm going to teach from the stage, then I have to walk it out myself. And so that was his catalyst for doing that.
And I know that's that's not the point of the show here, but I do look at it as good or bad. We have so much about body shaming these days and healthy body image, and think well of yourself no matter what weight you are. And man, I get that. It is, though, people do judge a book by its cover. People who are taller make more money. That is so unfortunate, but it's just true. We can't change it. Men are generally, more money. I mean, there's so many things. It's the same thing with health and wellness and how you look, if you're fit and trim or not. It's an opportunity cost. So no judgment, shame, no whatever, but I say it's irrefutable to say it is an opportunity cost. You want more opportunity for yourself. You're going to do well by, looking the part. Aside from, now I say that, and I'd also say, I would wish for people that is the minority value that you're working for, because the people that I see who do achieve and maintain their health and wellness the best are those who are mainly concerned about just their wellness. I just want to feel good and function good. Those are the people who maintain it. The ones who do it just for the aesthetic don't tend to have as good a result. Well, hey, business then. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know how you did it, but you brought up a politically correct area.
Did I?
Yeah, you talked about body shaming and all those different things. And I just want everybody to hear this, that as somebody who a lot of people come to me for advice, it has created a little bit of a touchy situation about how you answer questions like that.
Yeah.
Right. And so I've come to the conclusion in my own mind how I'm going to answer it. And I always side on, I want the best for that person in front of me. That's what I want. I want them to become the best person possible. And so your body shape, how tall or short you are, if you had a disability or an accident, none of that matters, right? But what does matter is what you're doing, increasing your health or decreasing your health.
Yes.
Is what you're doing giving you more capacity to make a difference in the lives of the people that God puts in your path? Right? That's the answer to me. And so when somebody says, well, what do you think I should do? I say, well, that should be driven by your purpose. Why are you here? What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And so I said, just look at a habit, good or bad. If you did more of that, or if you did less of that, would that make it easier for you to make a difference in the lives of other people? Would you have more energy? Would you have more stamina? Would you have more mental clarity? That's what it comes down to. And so there's all kinds of decisions. And so there's all these narratives in our society today, whether it's weight or fitness or ethnicity or race or all these things, and all these theories and all these isms that are out there. But when somebody comes to me and says, I've got a question, what should I do? I'm going to try to say, what do you want to do? What are you called to do? what's going to give you the greatest, what's going to unlock your greatest potential? What mindset is going to allow you to overcome the biggest barriers?
Yeah.
Right. And so I see this all the time. I'll see people say, well, it's just the way it is. I'm in this category and I just have to live with it. And I'm like, well, who created the category and who said you have to live with it?
Yeah.
What if you did it anyway? And then we have people on the Ziglar show who climb mountains and they're blind. I mean, come on.
That's true.
I
Yes.
mean, is he in the category of blind or is he in the category of mountain climber?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or is he in the category of I can do it anyway?
Yeah.
And that's what I want to encourage. Is I want to encourage that self-image, that belief that until I stretch myself and until I press in against whatever's in my way and do it anyway. And when I do it anyway, does that inspire and serve the people around me? Because really, I think whether you have faith or no faith, I think it's pretty universal that we derive our meaning and our purpose out of serving our fellow human being. And anything that limits our capacity to do that, I kind of go, that's probably not a good choice.
I agree. And I want to name who you were referring to there, Eric Weinmare. So if you look, his name's really hard to spell, but it's actually pronounced Weinmare. It looks like Weihenmeyer or something like that. But he is, gosh, what is his company? It's like No Challenge or something. Do you remember? Something like no. Yeah, we've had him on the show. It's been a while, but he's blind. He lost his sight as a kid. He's blind, and he has hiked Mount Everest. He has kayaked the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon. It's unreal. And, I want to make a point of that, Tom, because we so often do that. And I've actually said that no matter where you are, no matter what place in life you are, no matter what hardships you have, no matter what limitations, what do you have going against you? There's somebody who has done more with less. Now we say that though, and like that, here's a guy climb Mount Everest and he's blind. And I think it's real easy to feel shame like that. Like, yeah, that's, here I am complaining and somebody has it worse. And I double stink now because now I'm being negative and I know I don't have any reason to, because he's blind and he did it, whatever. But if we could just flip that around, because it should be, if we were looking at it healthily, it should be helpful and motivating and inspiring to us to say, man, I am struggling with as you said, Tom, my capacity, my capability, what I think I'm capable of. Here is somebody who has less going for them, has a harder way, and they've done it. Man, that should give me hope that I do have some power to progress. I may need help. I don't need to minimize my issues at all. But man, to not take it and feel shame for it, but to feel hope. That's the point in that. And I get it. I raise my hand. I understand. I often look at people and I can take that concept of somebody who did more with less and feel shame. And I've got to proactively turn around and go, no, that is something that can give me hope. But by nature, we tend to go to shame. So I wanted to throw that out there too.
I'm on his website right now, and it's the header is overcoming fear. So I don't see.
I think it was No Barriers might have been the book.
No Barriers. That's also in there.
Okay.
Live a No Barriers life.
Yeah. He's got a couple, and I'll tell you folks, it's a personal development is what you get out of it. But the books are pretty sizable and they're great stories of literally, here's what happened with a blind dude going up Mount Everest or kayaking the Grand Canyon. And so he's got a few books out there.
And by the way, he's not blind and also missing the fear gene. He's got fear.
Yeah.
So, you look at some adventure people and it seems like they didn't get the fear gene, right? That's not Eric. He's dealing with it and overcoming it, right? He's doing it anyway.
Oh, I asked him, I said, man, climbing Mount Everest, I mean, that's ridiculous, but he's got a guide, he can walk, but to kayak the Grand Canyon, said, "That is nuts." And he said, and I remember his response. It was something around the fact of, "Yeah, that was nuts, man. It was totally ridiculous." But he did it and used it to help impact a lot of people. Well, so business, that's the one that we got the most, 40% people said that. And Anthony Thomas was starting a business. Christine Apple, she said, starting a business and new skills, like to improve my speaking skills. She says, I'm learning a lot with your dad and others at the 48 Eagles, 48 Days Eagles. And so she's talking about my dad, Dan Miller. Evan Herman, he says, business, my podcast, my real estate ministry. I'm doing a lot of things and I want to learn how to be more productive in all of them, figure out metrics, which you talked about in the show we recorded yesterday, Tom, and ways to accomplish them and tweak the actions I'm taking to be most productive. Faye Bryant, business. I need to map out a plan that I can see and work on step by step. With 3 prongs, I end up in chaos getting nothing done. This one's interesting. Chris Johnston, he said, persuasion. And I responded back, said, well, learning how to be more persuasive. And he said, absolutely. I'd have trouble marketing air conditioners in hell. I had not heard that one before. I heard, ice to an Eskimo, but this is a better twist on it. I like that.
I like it too.
I do too. Lori Sellers, she said business, work, career, specifically starting a business. I'm good at ideas, but not so good at the minutia involved in bringing these ideas to life. I can see the big picture and the steps needed to get to that point, but I tend to get bored with the details and struggle with follow through. Renee, business. Tim Tupper, business. He says, but just barely over health since I've had so many challenges in that department. I know Tim, he's the brother to a teammate that we raced professionally, cycling together. But Tim's been in the military. He's gone through a lot of health challenges, cancer being one of them. He says, I'll take the business training though, so I can get going since I'm opening a business soon. Stephanie Weeks, business. David Treese, he says, business, work, career. Health and wellness advice has never been easier or has never been easier if I just do a little elbow work. Personal development space has tons of books and resources like what we provide. But he said, business, work, career is not straightforward. There's tons of details that impact it. And Jessica Smith Moyer also said business. That is one, I do want to poke at that a little bit, Tom, that I'll just get your take on it. You do, at Ziglar does a lot of business consulting. Obviously you do a lot of executive consulting. You and Howard Partridge run the business coaching sector there. And so you work with that a lot. But I want to take that just at face value, business, right? So here we are, we're all regular people. And we decide that, and we all need to work. We all need to earn an income. And we also want to do something that's fulfilling with our days, regardless of whether we need the money or not. And we look at business, and that's a big word. And this is probably a whole other show, but I just want to hit on it at least. It's a big word. And we look at that and go, okay, I have to become a business person. You and I talked about this a couple of days ago. And so I'll just be candid here. Folks, I am not a great business person. If you look at business overall, it has a lot of parts. Think about a big company. Do you have anybody and you come in and they say, yeah, I got a big company. Oh yeah. What do you do? Oh, I'm CEO and COO and CMO and CFO. Of course not. They have their area that they do. And yet, if you're starting a business, sure, you've got to come in, but there have never been more resources today to get help in every area and to find out where in business do you do well. And Tom, I'm sure you've got lots of examples of people who own a business, but they're not all the CEO or even the president. They may hire somebody to run their business while they're over here doing their part. You get the idea here. I want people to hear, though, when you're looking for business coaching consulting, that not everybody has to become a professional business person overall. You do need to figure out how to make a business work within is it fair to say, the confines of what you do have some ability in, and even the capacity to learn well, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I just started thinking about the business owners that we've worked with. And of course, Howard Partridge, he carries the water on all the business metrics, whether it's marketing or sales or operations or the the how-tos of systems and everything. And you go through cycles, and you're at first you're the startup, right? You're the bootstrapper, you're doing it all. And then maybe somebody in the family starts working for you, your spouse kicks in, and then you hire your first outside team member, and you grow some more, and all of a sudden your responsibility just keeps going up and up, and the needs of the business, a smaller and smaller percentage of what the business needs is actually what you're really good at. Right? Because if you've got, you're solopreneur and you're kind of making it go, and it's all about you and your personality and everything. And then as you grow, the scale of complexity suddenly outpaces your individual ability to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And so I was jumping into the future. And one of the things that I see, of course, ours is a family-owned business and multi-generational. So when businesses transition into a legacy where they leave the business to the next generation, the kids or the grandkids, there's usually a ton of strife and turmoil. If you have a very strong founder who's really built something from nothing, he or she has created something that's really going, there's a very, very small likelihood that one of the kids or grandkids is going to be that same exact human being, gifts and talents. I mean, it just doesn't happen. Everybody's unique. And so there seems to be this block that says, I should, that people say, I should be able to do it all. And even if I can't do it all, I should be the one telling others who can do that how to do it. But there's a maturity that sets in where you say, you know what? The fastest way to the next destination is to get the best person available who's really good at this and turn them loose.
Yeah.
Let them do their deal. Have checks and balances, make sure that, it's in perspective and things are, congruent with everything you want. But as soon as we recognize the gifts and talents God's given us and we spend our energy trying to support and grow those, and this for me was a turning point in my leadership. And that was recognizing firsthand what my blind spots are. As soon as I figured out and gave credence to my blind spots and then gave my permission to seek out people where that's not their blind spot, my life got a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
Right. And so in this own survey, I wouldn't pick a business coach because I got a business coach. I got Howard Partridge, and we are mirrors of each other's, or the opposite as far as blind spots go. And so it's a great relationship. That's who I go to. I tell him, hey, this is my vision. This is what I want to accomplish. Make sure that we don't lose money. And then if we can, make sure we make money.
It's a good business plan.
Yeah. And so he looks at it and he goes, sometimes he says, Chief, we can't make any money here. And then I go, okay. And then I go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
Sometimes he'll say, we can make money here, but here's how we'll have to do it. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. Right. And so that's what you've got to do one of the best things to ask your coach. So if you're going to go out and get a coach and they know what they're talking about, say, look, in a few sessions after we know each other, I want you to help me identify my blind spots. Because if you know what your blind spots are, as soon as you go off the rail and you start digging into an area that's in your blind spot, the little alarm goes off on the inside.
Yeah.
And for me, what that means is I'm going to get the information, I'm not going to commit, and I'm going to go to the expert in this area.
That is one, I want to point out a quick resource that we're going to be talking about more because I'm having him on the show. I just talked with you about it, Tom. Jonathan Fields probably was on the show 3 years ago or more. He's the Good Life Project, has a really popular podcast, and he has just come out with, well, no, it hasn't even come out yet as of this publishing. I think it comes out late September 2021, book called Sparked, but it's about the type that sparks you. And it really is focused on work. what is the thing in work that sparks you? And I'm going to go towards where is your greatest, skill, gift, capacity, ability, but focused on work. And so as we are all looking at our businesses, it does a great job, I think, of showcasing within your business, this is the role you are going to succeed in best, and also that's going to be the most fitting for you. And I think it's really good to know, because you may need to fulfill some other roles, but to realize, man, those are going to be draining on you, and you need to make space for that, or those are the areas you're going to want to try to delegate first. So if you can take the assessment and get a lot of information. It's totally free. Just give them an email address, of course, at sparktype.com. And it's SPARKE type.com, TYPE.com, SPARKETYPE.com. And he'll be on the show here in coming weeks, and we'll talk more, but it's a neat piece. All right. One more thing, Tom. So the question that I asked was a follow-up question to this one, was if you could get a coaching, consulting, counseling package for other people in your life. And I said the 10 people closest to you, you had to pick the same thing for all of them. What would you choose? And I'm not even going to go into the responses, because what's interesting to me is just the percentage. So again, if we go back up, and when I said, what would you as an individual for yourself, where would you get coaching, counseling, consulting help? People said 40% business, 33% personal development, 25% health. When I ask, what would you get for other people? 80% said personal development. 20% said health. 0 for business. So if we handed that, can you imagine? So if we're in essence saying, if we handed everybody $5,000 and said, okay, that is to gift that, or $50,000, $5,000 times 10 people, you're going to go out and give that money, but you have to decide, you have to give it to the person, a gift certificate for coaching, counseling, consulting for an area of their life. Nobody said that they would give it for somebody for business. Only 20% said even health. 80% said personal development. Just kind of an interesting take on how we see the needs, maybe of ourselves, and how we see the needs of others. I thought that was pretty interesting, Tom. What do you think when you hear that?
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. I'm glad you asked that follow-on question, because here's what I think that I'm reading out of it is, internally, we get our identity out of the success of what we do.
Yeah.
And so that's why we think other people are judging us on how successful we are in our career or our business.
Wow.
And then what we turn around and we say, well, the people that I know and love and care about, and I would give this to, what's important for me about them is that they're happy and healthy. So,
that is really insightful, because what it brings up is, it really brings up the Ziglar be, do, have. So what you're saying is, we judge ourselves, tend to look at ourselves by what we do, business, work, career. But what do we want for what are we concerned about with other people? What they be, who they be. That is very insightful, Tom, and very interesting.
I don't know if we've done a show in the last year where I haven't mentioned Rabbi Lapin's quote, where he says, the opposite of depression is not happiness. The opposite of depression is purpose.
Purpose. Yeah.
Right. And so, the politically correct talk we had about body shaming and everything else. Well, the justification of some of that political correctness is, hey, people have a right to be happy. And if that makes them happy, who is us to judge? The problem is that if that's the case, are those people truly happy for the long haul? I mean, do they go to bed at night saying, you know what, today was awesome. I served and added value to as many people as possible because of all of my choices. And so to me, that's the difference, is we have a responsibility to help people step into their purpose.
Yeah.
right? That's to me is our responsibility. Not their happiness, their purpose. If we can help them into their purpose, happiness follows.
Okay, that was a good mic drop. We'll leave it right there. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.